Hello, hello, hello. How we doing, everybody? We are here 2 weeks in a row. Back again with another Beyond the Guitar arranging stream. Looks like we've got Mikey Flynn is in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you. Seth's in here. Good to see you, man. Cecil's in here. Thank you guys for joining. If you're watching the replay as well, hello. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. So I've got a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news today. Today, the good news is we're going through my newly finished arrangement of The Last Goodbye from The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. The song's basically just like a love story, a love song to like just J.R.R. Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, you know, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, Hobbit trilogies. It's a beautiful music video. If you haven't seen it, Billy Boyd plays Pippin, sang it, and it's a really beautiful tune. I've wanted to do it for a while. It's very nostalgic, you know, especially for, The Hobbit is hit or miss, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy, again, like even though this was for the Hobbit, it really just closes the book on both of those trilogies and is very nostalgic in that sense. Not enough Mozart, as always. This is not Mozart, but if you pretend it's Mozart, it could be Mozart to you. Who's to really say what is or isn't Mozart, you know? So the good news is we're going to be going through and I'm going to be showing you guys, walking you through this arrangement and the decisions that I made, and you're going to get the, first look at it. Because, well, Music Notes is slacking as they have been recently, and they haven't posted the arrangement yet. So anyway, the bad news is that I need a little bit more time to get it under my fingers. So I will not be trying to just power through and record it for this weekend. So I'm going to put it out next week, give myself a few more days to practice it because quality is important and I'd rather push it back a week and really do it justice. So that's a bit of a bummer. I wanted to be able to put it out this weekend, but it just didn't work out. It's a little bit longer. It's 4 minutes long. And so just more music takes more time. They should have stuck to what was written. That story stood by itself. They didn't have to add the extra stuff. Yeah, they definitely embellished a lot for The Hobbit. Definitely unnecessary. But yeah, it is what it is. The Lord of the Rings movies are still some of my favorites. Yeah, Mike, a long song just for you. It might not be Mozart, but it is longer. So, tell people to come to Seth and you. That's right. Shout out to Guitar SVD and Seth Wilkins. Congratulations again, Seth, for getting on Music Notes, by the way. That's awesome. Very awesome. I know they were slacking with you. They've just been slacking lately. I'm not too happy with... they've been great for me, but again, the last few weeks, it's been coming down to the wire where I'll have to email them and be like, hey, for the last year, I haven't had any issues. It takes them about 2 or 3 days to put up a new arrangement. But the last month or so, every time I had to email again and be like, hey, I want to put this video up tomorrow. Is it going to be ready? And if I don't email them like I didn't this week, apparently it won't be ready. And I even emailed last week. I emailed my contact. I was like, hey, I just want to make sure we've been under the understanding, based on when I first signed up with you guys, you told me the time frame was generally 2 to 3 business days to get everything up for me. I want to make sure that's still the case, that I'm giving you guys enough advance notice. And they were like, yeah, no, that's fine. So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway. Let's go ahead and dive in because there's some cool stuff in here. I think it's going to turn out great. I've been practicing it some. I'll probably still, butcher my way through it a little bit. But you get the gist of it. So have we all who are in here currently, have we all heard this tune? I'm actually going to change it back to the original key while we're listening. We're going to take a little bit of a listen here, and then we'll go through it. Let me know if the level's volume's okay.
I saw the light fade from the sky. On the wind I heard a sigh. As the snowflakes cover
thanks, Cecil.
fallen brothers, I will say this last goodbye. Night is now falling, so ends this day. The road is now calling, and I must away. Over hill and under tree, through lands where never light is shone, by silver streams that run down to the sea. Under cloud, beneath the stars, over snow on winter's morn, I
The
turn
music
at
video for this
last
is great. If you haven't watched it, you need to, because it includes
that lead
clips from like the movies.
home, and oh, where the road then takes me, I
The
cannot
fact that Billy
tell.
Boyd's doing it makes it all that much better.
We came all this way, but now comes the day to bid you farewell. Many places I have been, many sorrows I have seen, but I don't regret, nor will I forget all who took that road with me. Night is
Now we start to get some repeated material. But you guys get the gist of it. Really pretty tune. So let's go ahead and just jump right on in. The way that it starts, the little piano chime right there. Of course, my stuff's... All right, so I matched that right off the bat with some harmonics. So I've got 7th fret and then 12. But I did change the key too. So it's normally in C, which is not a bad key for guitar, but lately I've been on a drop D kick. So I did bump it to the key of D major, and that worked out a lot better. And so that's where those harmonics work in. And then there's this little, what is it? I don't know if this is like a dulcimer or something. And that's got to be campanella all the way. So I did this right here. And then the voice comes in. right? So all that's fairly straightforward. That's based off of this simple.
Saw the light fade from the sky.
Sounds a little funny with the pitch
On the
shifted up a little
wind
bit.
I heard a sigh.
Right, so I wanted to do that. I decided to do that in this kind of lower octave, just because I really liked the warmth and just softness of it. And that's one technique that I use fairly frequently, is playing the melody below and then having these little partial chords up above it. Just trying to play that as sweetly as possible. And then there's an actual guitar that comes in here. Sorry about that.
As the snowflakes cover this last goodbye, night is now falling.
All right, you hear the guitar strumming in the background?
So ends this day. The road
So that's what I kind of fixated on here. I've got this palm muting in the background. Right? So that's, it goes on. Yeah. Now, before I want to go any further, I do want to point out a couple things. Number one, if we look at my measure 19 here, this is something that I do fairly frequently. Again, this is campanella. So I've got that F sharp. So for anybody who doesn't know, campanella is when you play a melody or a scale and you split it across several strings. So one note per string. So instead of going, in this case, the melody is going F sharp, E, D. I could play it like this, all on one string. But in this case, I play the F sharp on the B string, the open E, and then the D on the third string. So they're all on separate strings, and it makes this nice ringing out, reverberating sound where the melody notes kind of blend together, which there's a time and a place for it. And in this case, I feel like it was really nice. All right, so the cool thing about that section right here is when I said this is, in a sense, a love song to just the Peter Jackson movies, it pays homage to some of those melodies from those movies, songs and soundtracks in those, or songs from those soundtracks. So this whole part, that's almost note for note, May It Be. Just kind of more up tempo. May it be when darkness falls. And I guess at the last part it changes a little bit. right? But same chord progression, and the melody at the beginning is the same. So that's a cool little throwback. And then at the very beginning, let's see. I saw the light. Da, 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 da. Right here. Da, 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 I heard the sigh. That is Concerning Hobbits right there. Ba, da, 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 da. Right? It's just that like 2 or like measure and a half right there. But it's just a snippet that pulls from that melody. I think it's really cool because it's subtle enough that not everybody would catch it. Anyway, so I keep this palm muting thing going with my thumb. I thought that was an effect that really captured the spirit of what's going on here. That part I gotta work on. All right, let's talk about this section right here. So this is essentially a new theme. Da, 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 takes me. Da, 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 da. One thing that I wanted to do here that I really liked, let's see if I can find that section. Right there.
I cannot tell. We came out.
I cannot tell. So first of all, I wanted to hear that bass line, right? You're hearing that descending line. But there's a little more subtle thing that happens right after that.
We came out. We came out this
You
way.
hear the strings in the background after. Right before the melody comes in. I thought that was a really nice touch. So I wasn't, I was a little bit torn on including that because the structure that I've had for this whole section so far has been pretty simple. It's just this like plodding bass line with a melody with a few occasional harmony notes on top of it. But sorry, let me just check something real quick. But I wanted to play around with it. So that's what we have right here. I've got that descending bass line with a little, and then I did it. That's that. Da-da-da. That happens right here. But the challenge is that that little passage in the strings ends right where the melody begins. It ends on a B, and the melody starts singing a B. And so it sounds a little awkward if you kind of just go da 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 da. There doesn't, since it's all one instrument here, there doesn't really sound like a separation between this little passing accompaniment and then this melody, this vocal line that comes in. So this is, again, another little trick that I do when I have a case like that where it's two separate voices that begin and end on the same note. Play that same note on different strings to differentiate the two. So here I went. It's a subtle thing, but because I can I can play that B right here on the 3rd string, and then I come in with the vocal line on that open B. It's just enough that one, the tone is slightly different between the open string and the fretted 3rd string, and I can hold that accompaniment note down while the other B starts in the vocal line, and it creates this little bit of overlap. So again, that automatically differentiates the 2 lines. I don't know, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And then there's this part, many places I will go. Anytime you're arranging something like this, you're going to be doing a lot of little grace note, whether it's just arranging stuff that's normally sung in general, or especially this more folky Celtic kind of vibe. There's a lot of those little grace notes, but naturally the human voice, when they're singing, they do a lot more of those anyway. So to make your arrangement have more of a vocal quality, I definitely include those a lot whenever I hear them where I can. It definitely gives the melody, it makes it sound more like it's being sung. More human, I guess. Okay. By the way, for anybody watching or anybody catching the replay, don't hesitate to ask any questions or leave any feedback or anything. You guys got like super awkwardly quiet ever since I started, so I hope everyth's okay. It's fine. You know, if you're lurking, that's cool. Hopefully everything's still working. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments or anything, don't feel like you're disturbing by any means. So here's where things get a little bit interesting. So now it's kind of like the, I guess, second verse. Mike's still alive. Good, man. That's all I needed to know.
Many sorrows I've seen.
I'm too busy weeping.
Many places
Whatever, dude.
I have been.
All right, so this is the part that we finished.
Many sorrows I have seen, but I don't regret, nor will I forget all who took that road with me. Night is now falling.
All right, so this part we've heard before. Da, 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 da. Hey, what's up? Still here. What made you? This is Dave, right? What made you pick this song? It seems a lot more simple than many of your arrangements. Yeah, it's definitely super simple so far. It's about to pick up a little bit. For one reason, I picked this song because I really like it. I don't look for complexity. You know, I pick things based on what I like, and sometimes I end up making them more complex, but I don't make things complex for complexity's sake. So if an arrangement ends up being pretty simple, I'm cool with that. Yeah, I really love this tune. I haven't done anything Lord of the Rings related in a while, and I really love that music. And so this has just been one that I've wanted to do for a while, and I had an opening. I didn't have any other stuff that I needed to do this for this next video, so I was like, oh, it's a good opportunity to finally break this one out. But it does pick up a little bit here, because again, one of my philosophies is if you have a repetitive type arrangement that you're making where it's a like verse, chorus structure, or it's just a melody that keeps repeating, like for some of these soundtracks, you want to change it up. And so here on this second verse, I have, let's see, because this is where, so this is that same melody that I initially played up here when this palm muting came in. Where is that? Right? This is that same melody, but what I'm doing now is I'm taking this arpeggio pattern that's happening in the background. So if you listen here,
So where's this day? The road
there's actually
is now
guitars
calling.
picking these high-pitched arpeggios in the background. Mozart is complex. That's right. So I'm taking that and I'm meshing the melody in between it, and that's what's really interesting here. So and then it gets big there. So what's happening, this is a tricky thing, especially if we look at right at the beginning here. The melody is right here, here, and here. The arpeggio ends up going above and below the melody notes there. So the melody is literally kind of sandwiched in between this arpeggio, whereas more typically it's sitting on top of an arpeggio that's going underneath or down below, and the arpeggio is up above. But this is right in the middle. So you have to be, it's a cool effect, but you have to be very careful about which notes you play louder than others. So I have to very intentionally right? I have to make that melody louder than the arpeggio. Right? It's tricky, but it's a very cool effect because it definitely makes it sound like there's those two guitars going on, and it almost tricks the ear to think that arpeggio is continuing throughout that whole deal. Now, what I did for this is one reason why I recommend notating out your arrangements as you go, because what I did is I just took this rhythmic pattern, this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and this repeated arpeggio, so like M, I, P, M, I, P, M, I, and I just copy and pasted that across the section, and then I put the melody on top of it because I'd already figured out the rhythm of the melody, and that let me see where the melody lined up with these notes, and where the melody fell in between or where they ended up together. And that let me visually really easily see, okay, I can replace this note of the arpeggio pattern just with the melody. So you still, because they happen at the same time, so you just hear the melody, but you're also still hearing the rhythm continue. And it just helped me. So I adjusted it from there, but it helped me conceptualize it and be able to see how everything meets up rather than just trying to kind of figure it out as you go and try to figure out, because especially vocal melodies are lots of times rhythmically kind of complex. So that's what I did with that whole section. Then it starts building up here. here, what do I do? So right, we'll talk about that in a second. So it's building up this kind of big crescendo into this big strumming portion. So that whole section here, I took the melody up an octave because we had that before with same melody, but now I took it took the melody up an octave to make it kind of more epic, and then I added this arpeggio underneath. Now, one thing that I did here, I might throw all my plans for tonight in the trash and watch all these movies again. I highly recommend that. I'm tempted to do the same. So this whole section right here with the harmonics. The problem with taking a melody up the octave, once you start getting up here, I have to play part of the chord progression underneath here is a G major, where my bass note G major, so far, I've been able to kind of reach everything. So it starts on a B minor, G major, and I can get my G bass here. I'm in drop D for this again, so I'm on the 5th fret for that G now. I can grab my E an octave up here, but it's still a bass register. Back to G here. D, so I can get my open low D. Now the problem is here, I'm up at the 12th fret and I'm at a G chord again. All right, so this is where you have to get creative, right? When things start getting out of reach, this is where harmonics lots of times come into play. So I played around with the idea I could have played that melody note as a harmonic and arpeggiated down here. But I ended up settling, I didn't like that because the melody note slides into it, again, to get kind of that vocal quality. And you can't slide into a harmonic. So I ended up doing this, a descending arpeggio. So I play the melody note, then play these, a D or a G and a D harmonic, and then open B and G, and then I play my root of the chord. So it's this kind of delayed root, and then back. Because by the time I get to that root, I can let go of that melody note because for the most part, it's not really sustaining anymore. So you're not really going to hear if I let go of it at that point. Now here I do play the melody note is an E, but I need to play an A major chord with this little. So yeah, I play that melody note as a harmonic there so I can move and it will sustain without me holding it down. this is the hardest part of the arrangement that I'm still having to practice. One of the reasons I'm having to delay it. So in the original, it starts to get more epic around here too. And you hear the guitar strumming in the background.
With your blessing, I will go to turn and last to paths that lead home.
Right, so I wanted to do that. So I've got. Now the hard part here is the melody goes. It does that again, but I wanted to keep the strumming going. So I had to play the melody with harmonics. So I play the B here, and then I play a harmonic here for the D, and then play these 3 notes, even though the melody is just here, but it's an E minor chord, so these 3 harmonics work. And then come over here. This is the one time where I was like, I wish I wasn't in drop D, because I wouldn't have to do all this craziness if I was in standard, because then I would have my open low E. But now all of a sudden E minor chords aren't as simple because I've got to play it like that. But the pros and cons, drop D worked out better overall. But here I had to be a little more creative, so I go. Right? So something like that. Pippin's voice in a higher pitch sounds like a lady at 7-Eleven that used to sell me cigarettes when I was 17. He's very chipmunk-esque. I'd like to retract what I said about simplicity. Yeah. I guess I couldn't stay too simple, I guess. I just had to make it complicated again. But it's not for complexity's sake, though. I'm still sticking to my guns on that. I wanted to make it build and become more epic, and usually with that, it makes it more complicated. No BTG is simple, rule of thumb. I don't try to make it complicated. It just kind of happens. Now here's another textbook example why it's so helpful to notate as you go. So I had this recurring rhythm for the strumming pattern going. And as I'm strumming, I have to know how the melody, like when's the melody going to interact with that strumming. And it's tricky to kind of try to do that on the fly when the melody note, the melody's moving all over the place and the strumming is doing its thing. And so if you copy and paste this strumming pattern rhythm and then you put the melody above, you can see how everything would naturally fit together, and then you can adjust accordingly. And it worked out in this case where it does this kind of cool... It's this cool, almost syncopated feeling rhythm. I mean, the melody's just on the quarter notes there, but with the offbeat nature of the strumming pattern there, it makes this cool juxtaposition. never know how to use that word in context. Like I said, still kind of butchering it a little bit. Still have a lot of work to be done to get this up to speed. What is the most simple BTG arrangement? Ooh, that's a good question. Princess Leia is deceptively challenging, actually, but it's probably up there as one of the simpler ones. Coco, not bad as long as you're comfortable with harmonics. I don't remember if I did tremolo in Coco, though. And Far Horizon, I definitely did tremolo. Hold on, I'm going to have to pull them up and look at them and see which ones. The Minecraft one was fairly simple. That's just the problem with classical guitar in general, is there are some things that can end up sounding fairly simple, but those often are the hardest pieces, you know? To Xanarkand isn't too bad. Some of my old Zelda stuff isn't too bad, like Song of Time and Song of Storms. Jurassic Park, that one was pretty simple. See what else. Ginny of Oldstones for Game of Thrones. I don't remember if that one was super tricky or not. Will the Circle Be Unbroken? That's a really old school one. That's not too bad if you're okay with harmonics. Yeah, I don't know, to name a few. You could sight read that? That's actually really impressive. That's awesome, Dave. All right, so just to kind of wrap up what we have here, we just have this little outro. Says the last little vocal line there is, I wish you all a very fond farewell. It's gonna be chef's kiss. What is the most complicated? Ooh, that's also see, I forget them when I'm done. I forget. Maybe I just repress how difficult some of them are. Let me pull it up this way instead. Sogno di Volare is definitely one of the most complex. I'm very proud of that one. I'm really proud of that arrangement. Bohemian Rhapsody was really hard. Yeah. I literally saw that right as you said that, Cecil. Light of the Seven, yeah, that one, there was that one part, and I think we talked about, Seth, that one part in Light of the Seven, oh my gosh. That was like 90% of the practice that I had to do for that arrangement was that one part. Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody was so brutal. I felt so accomplished. It was such a rewarding feeling when I finished through that. Because I don't know if some of you guys remember in the Discord, because I don't listen to other people's arrangements when I'm working on something because I don't want to be subconsciously influenced. And I was asking you guys if other people did the solo, if they included the solo for Bohemian Rhapsody in their arrangements, other people who have done it. And I didn't want to I didn't want to include it if other people didn't because it was going to be so challenging, but I didn't want to be the one guy that wimped out on it. So, yeah. So I managed to include that in there, and yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. The harmonic too. Oh gosh, yeah, that part really messed with your head, Seth, for sure. The part in Light of the Seven where it was really it was like toward the end where there was this like descending thing going on the whole time while the melody was happening. All this stuff happening all at the same time. Han Yolo is hard too. Han Solo, yeah, that one was tough. That was one of those arrangements that was really hard and barely anybody saw it. I think it's gotten more views now, but back then, nobody really, it didn't really do much of anything at all. I have one arrangement that never saw the light of day. You guys want to see it real quick? This one is actually super hard. From memory, sir, this was the early days. I have a couple arrangements that I've never made a video for. A Battlefield one and this Lindsey Sterling one, The Arena. Does anybody know that song? Lindsey Sterling's The Arena. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, this one was gonna be super brutal. It's a really pretty tune, though. It would have been really cool. This was like year one BTG. That was pretty bad. Yeah, that one was bad. I was going to do it. I just got sidetracked, honestly. And now it's just like too late. One of the most, I just saw this. Oh, shoot. I think it's opening in my old school Guitar Pro. Who in here remembers the Defenders medley that I did? You might remember it because I wore a black wig for part of it. A long-haired wig. The Iron Fist portion of that was actually super complicated, really hard to do. What was it? Yeah, right here. Hold on. I was really proud of this too. The show Iron Fist sucked. I didn't like it, but this theme was cool. You have to go watch the video for it to really do it justice, but I'm not even going to try to do that right now. That was really tough. The Spider-Man PS4 one was pretty tricky. My Destiny medley was actually really tough. It's the most elaborate percussion that I've ever done. Trying to think if there's anything else, any of these old school deals. Yeah, I think that's most of the trick. Oh, I'm just curious. I want to pull up the Battlefield arrangement medley that I never did. So Battlefield, I don't know if any of you guys are Battlefield fans, but Battlefield 1, so like it's obvious, you know how they do. It's not the first Battlefield. It's the Battlefield that came out after. It's Battlefield before last. It's the one that came out before Battlefield 5. It's actually got an amazing soundtrack. Like probably the most beautiful soundtrack I've ever heard for a multiplayer first-person shooter game. And so I did a medley for it, and I don't remember why I never made a video for it. I think something came up and I got busy. Yeah, Anduin's theme's not too bad. Again, if you're good with tremolo. Last of the Mohicans was pretty tricky for sure. We're going in the archives, boys. These are unreleased, beyond the guitar arrangements. This is a cool part. Oh, I see some tremolo coming up. This is going to sound terrible on MIDI. Ready? That sounds horrible. But this part's cool normally. I remember that, Mike. Call of Duty 3 theme? I'd have to hear that. I also forgot to label the different themes. It's so pretty. You think I should, Cecil? Yeah, but it's so like passé at this point. Nobody's gonna care about a Battlefield medley. This is my favorite part. Even in the game, this was such a cool moment. It was like, hold on, I gotta pause this. This was like, you just got done with this like tank, this brutal tank mission, like super violent and intense. And then all of a sudden, as it's going on, it just like zooms out to this, or no, it's a carrier. They send off a carrier pigeon to send a message to like, I think they were like their allies were about to bomb the crap out of them, and they were sending a message to say like, don't do it or do it. I don't remember, but the carrier pigeon goes up and it like zooms out and it follows the pigeon, and so like all of a sudden you're in the chaos of war, and then it just zooms up and it's just calm and peaceful. It's just the contrast was really cool. I care just for the music. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the gist of that one. Yeah, I wish one day, my dream, here's my dream. My dream is not to have super fancy things or, a super fancy house or anything like that. I want to be able to provide for my family a good living, and to be confident in that, so that like the security in it to where it doesn't feel volatile. And you guys contribute to that a lot with the recurring like Patreon revenue, and I can't thank you enough for that, because things like ad revenue on YouTube is so volatile that it sends me into like a near panic attack sometimes when like things just start to flip out. And so I really want to one day get to the point where I don't have to worry about views, where it's like videos can tank, I can do what I want, and there's enough revenue from other streams coming in, like Patreon, or like that's why I'm working behind the scenes on all this instructional stuff. Like that's the big goal, is that that'll eventually take over and I'm able to provide enough value through a course or membership site there where that can be the main source of my income. And then it's like I don't have to stress out about views. Is it to play Mozart? Yeah. So the problem right now is I do have to I can't just do things just for the music right now, unfortunately. Like I do have to worry about views to an extent. It's always a balance. I'm never going to do things just for the views. That's why I haven't done a Fortnite Part 4. Because I do have principles. And there are things that are important to me and certain lines that I want to draw in the sand. People do love Mozart. That's true. But yeah. So that's the goal. If I could, to me, that would be pure success. If there's just the financial stability to where I know my family's taken care of. I don't have to stress out about oh, what if this all tanks, whatever in a year. And I don't have to worry about views. That's the dream right there. So we're getting there. We're moving in the right direction. So, that's right. Mozart's dead, literally. All right, guys. Well, hopefully, it was cool to get a sneak peek of the new arrangement, and to hear some of my thoughts on my process with it. I'm sorry that I'm not going to get it out to you guys this weekend, but I'm sure you understand the quality is important. I need to get it under my fingers. So I'll have it ready for y'all next week, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. But I got to get off here, hang out with the family, relieve my wife from our crazy kiddos. I'm going to be jumping into some Call of Duty tonight, actually. I didn't think I'd be saying that for a while, but the new Call of Duty is actually pretty sweet. So I feel like I'm being sucked back into Call of Duty. That I haven't really enjoyed Call of Duty since college days for the most part. So yeah, gonna hang out with the family a little bit and then just relax tonight. So I hope you guys can relax, rest up, so you can have another productive week. Outer Worlds, yeah. I've heard a lot about that. I'm glad you're enjoying that, man. That's what Fallout 76 should be. Oh gosh, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with Fallout 76. I know, Mike, I'd be curious to hear what you think, because I know I don't know if you're still playing, but I know you like Fallout 76, but it seems like they keep making mistake after mistake. They announced the subscription thing. Anyway, I don't want to hate. Bedtime in UK. Well, hey, thanks for joining in, Dave. I appreciate it. And thank you guys all for being here. It's always fun when some of the familiar faces and regulars start turning in. tuning in to the live stream. Borderlands 3. Yeah, Borderlands 3 was a lot of fun. I played it and sold it. Like I played through real quick through the story to experience it. Had a lot of fun with it. But there's too many games, too little time. But Borderlands 3 is fun. All right, guys. Much love. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you enjoyed the stream. If you're watching after the fact, feel free to leave comment, questions, anything, and I will respond. Hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you over in Discord. All right. Peace.